What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I am doing a different format. I have a fellow collector friend here named Tony. We are
Oh,
both collectors, and we were talking and we figured it'd be a cool idea to do share our experiences as, game collectors through the years, what we've learned, things we like, mistakes we may have made, stuff like that. So we just kind of want to share our thoughts and our experiences. So, just kind of before we get started with like, I guess the questions, Tony, how long have you been like collecting and stuff like that?
well, I've been collecting pretty much like since I was a little kid. Not games, but just collecting things in general. It all started with the Chevron cars.
Oh,
Do
wow.
you
Yeah.
remember the little Chevron cars with the eyes and they had commercials and stuff?
Yeah.
As a kid, those were what I actually started collecting, and then it went on to Pokemon cards. But if we're going on to video games, I mean, I've played video games ever since I was a little kid, since the Atari. But I didn't really actually collect the games, you know. Really, I'd say it started probably about 8, 9 years ago is when I
Okay.
started collecting.
Okay.
Because my little one, she's 8 now, and I started collecting about a year just before she was born.
I've been collecting, I started collecting around 2017. But kind of like you, ever since I was a kid, I've always just kind of had a collector's mindset. And for you, it was the Chevron cars. For me, it was like the McDonald's Happy Meal toys. Those
Oh,
were like,
it was
man,
a
like
good
those
one.
were like so addicting. And I remember like some that I remember a lot were the Toy Story ones, Tarzan ones, Inspector Gadget was another one that I remember I liked to collect a lot for. And then like as far as games go, um well, my dad really was my dad. My dad, every like as he raised me, he was always like the things you buy, try to keep them, always hold on to the box because like whenever you want to sell something, you show a picture of the box and people are gonna buy it. So I always kind of had that mindset of like, all right, cool, I got a game, I'm just gonna hold on to the box. And but really like in 2017 was when I really kind of started because that's when I started, to have like more money like on the side for me to actually, spend on stuff that I wanted. So that's really kind of where I started. And so so I guess it's been 6 years now. So yeah, I've been, gradually getting what I can. So yeah, guys. So we've been collecting for a set amount of time. So I kind of want to start off with the first question, and Tony, I'll let you answer first since you are a guest. I guess the first question, um, what was like, what got you into collecting? Like, I guess, video games, especially. Like, what was it like something that you got a game and it just clicked, or was there a specific meaning behind it? Yeah.
So, so my best friend, his name is Brad. Known him since high school. He actually back in high school he said about 95% of the entire PlayStation 1 library, like complete in box and everything. This was back in when everything was cheap. um, like 2016, 2015, around there. Um, he got me into playing RPGs and such, and I started holding on to some of the games that he was suggesting that were part of my small collection. I wasn't technically collecting at the time, but that was it. But like I said, about 9 years ago, um, he had moved to Tampa. And as he was coming back from Tampa, he told me there's an arcade that's closing down over there. And they're selling a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 arcade cabinet. And it was one of those big ones, like
Yeah,
the big ones. If I can find a picture, I'll send it to you. You can put it up.
definitely.
So he's like, you got to get this, because he knew how much I love Marvel. So I uh, I rented a U-Haul, drove it to Tampa. He went with me. We picked it up, brought it home. I put it back in my house. I was living at my dad's house at the time, and it was huge. It was humongous in my room. It was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Holy crap.
So shortly after that, I moved out with my fiance that I'm with now, and my dad was just like, you got to get rid of this. I don't want it here. So I was, as much as I didn't want to, I was trying to hold on to it till I got a house, but it wasn't happening anytime soon. So I was just like, all right. So I ended up selling it. And in that process of trying to sell it is when I found all these collectors groups.
Cool.
And I was starting to see, oh man, he's got this game that I used to play. Oh, he's got this game that I used to play. So that's when I started buying stuff and building it up. And if you can see behind me,
Yeah.
where we are 9 years later.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like, dude, I'm trying to picture you trying to sneak in a whole, that big old arcade cabinet into your room. I don't know how you got that down.
My dad helped me bring it in, but he was just like, this can't stay here.
Hey, your dad's a good man for even allowing it in the first place. Uh, yeah, I mean, as far as for me, I mean, now, like my whole thing with games is very complicated because as a kid, I had a console. My dad got me a PS1, but like not when it came out. It was like 99, because like, growing up as a kid, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So my dad was able to manage to get me the PS1 years after. I'm assuming he got it for a sale, but he couldn't afford memory cards. So a lot of the games that I only had like 3 games, which was like Crash Bandicoot, Crash Team Racing, and I forgot, it was another one. I think it was a fighting game. And but I couldn't save any of my games because I had no memory card. So like I never really enjoyed it to the potential, but really GameCube was where I had a memory card. I had a bunch of games for it. And I always like, even though like as I phased out and kind of got a 360 and stuff like that, I didn't start collecting until 2017 because like I was at a trip in California with my brother and a good friend of ours. His name's Jason. And we were in California and we stopped by this small town called Ventura. And there was a game store there. And for the most part, I really wasn't plugged in on like retro scenes at all. Like I didn't know there was a big thing for it, whatever, but I always loved the games. So I walked into the store and dude, I was like, it was the first time I ever saw a game store. So like it was the first time I saw like, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, like all these games in one place since like, I was a kid in like Walmart or Target back in like 2000, when you had those game booths and stuff like that. So, and I remember there, I was like, oh, wow. Like I didn't like, okay, this is a thing. Like people do this. So that's kind of where I started. I bought a couple games super cheap because back then things were in that. I bought a complete Ocarina of Time for like $35 because the box was beat up, which is insane now.
Oh, you think about that now? Oh my god!
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's like I saw a beat up box on eBay for like 120 or whatever, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy. Like that's insane. So I bought a couple games and I kind of started from there, and then I just kind of slowly started to add stuff, and for the most part, let me see if I could show the camera here. I have like a whole shelf there. And then I have a cabinet here. I can't really show it right now, but it's full of consoles. I have a bunch of stuff there. So it gradually grew over time. And now, we're wherever we are. So more or less is kind of where we got started. Let's go to question number 2 here. What were some of the mistakes that you made along the way when you first started collecting things that you're like, man, I shouldn't have done that, or should have known better?
I think personally, one of the biggest mistakes that like kind of haunts me is it's a noob mistake. It's because when I first started, I found I had some of my old games, and I had Paper Mario Thousand Year Door.
It's a good one.
And I traded it to someone in one of the Facebook groups that I was in. And I can't remember what I traded it for, but it was like there was no comparison in like value wise. And I was just like, now that I'm thinking about it, I was like, God damn, that guy got such a good deal. It's like, man.
He's probably on Reddit and like, I can't believe I got this deal from this guy.
Right? But like, yeah, there was that. And then honestly, if we're gonna get a little real here, I'm the type of person that has kind of like an addictive personality. So never anything drug related or anything like
Yeah.
that. But when it came to collecting like Pokemon cards and stuff, I could never get enough. So I had tons of that. And when it came to video games, when I started, I tried my hardest to limit myself, but I was not very self aware. So, and it got to a point where like sometimes I would go into GameStop and I couldn't let myself leave without buying something. And it was bad for a while. And I finally I kicked it. I was just like, all right, it's you gotta save your money. You gotta save your money. And I did finally eventually kick it, and I sold off a bunch of the stuff that I had. I was just like, I can't let myself get that bad anymore.
Right.
Which even though you see what you see back here is seems like a lot, it's really only like half of what I had at one point.
That's nice.
So so I'm I'm okay now.
You could look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, dude, I mean, like, I don't want to like go off an entirely different path. Maybe we could do a video on this, like a separate one, but like, yeah, that is something people don't talk about in the collecting community, the addictive nature of collecting stuff. And I've been there for sure, where it's like you start buying stuff and then you're like, I gotta get this now, and I gotta get this now. Like, all right, I gotta get this now. And I mean, I was like, when I first started, it was kind of like it's like damn, I want to get this stuff, but I don't have money, so I can't do it. So that like for me, it was more like my funds didn't allow me to like go that deep.
Yeah.
But I definitely have been there as well, especially when I first started, because you get so excited that you're getting a bunch of
That's
stuff.
that's the thing when you first start is that you see what everybody else has and you're like, oh man, I gotta catch up. And
Yes.
that's kind of how it was for a while. I was just like, oh man, he's got all this stuff. I want to have something like that. So like I kept going and going and going, and it almost was like a competitive thing where like if this person's getting this much, I want to get that much too.
Right.
So, but like I said, I'm I think the way in general, we'll get to this later, but the way in general collecting has gone has kind of curbed a lot of people's need for more, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I'll talk a little bit about some of the errors I made. I think the biggest one I think I made was um like I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but the whole like thing with going to Goodwills and looking for games. When I first started, obviously I started watching a lot of YouTubers and stuff like that. And obviously you see these videos and also I mean posts, man, like Reddit posts, community posts, stuff like that of people like, man, I can't believe I got these games at a Goodwill for $5. And so I was kind of one of the people that since I was, just getting started, I was like, yo, that's where it's at. I gotta start going to Goodwill. So, dude, like the amount of and honestly, like, and I guess if you're watching this video and maybe you're just starting off, um, yeah, I wasted a lot of time, really, like gas, miles on my car, look going to Goodwills and not finding absolutely anything, and just kind of wasting time because you have this hope that like, oh, I'm gonna find this game here for $2, $3, and it's gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna like it's gonna be a huge steal, but obviously that's not the truth. Like the reality of the situation, I mean, I learned this later on, is that I mean, when I found this out, I was like, my God, it was like the Goodwills, they have their own auction sites. So like they have an auction site from Goodwill. So yeah, when they get good games, they just send them to the auction sites. So it's like a lot of the times, so it's like, wow, like I never even had a chance. And so it's one of those things where like you get to a Goodwill and then you see Wii Fit, right? And it's like the only game you've seen at like six Goodwills. So you get it, so I'm like, oh my God, fine, I'll get it. It's only $1. And then like you do that 5 or 6 times, the next thing you know, you have like I had like 8, 9 games that are like worthless because I had to get something because to
Yeah.
like justify the time and the amount of and like the trips and everything that I wasted. So
That's
yeah, I think like now looking at it, I think Goodwills are a good place for, because I know people out there like to do complete sets on consoles, and I think Goodwill could be a good place for that because you will find a lot of shovelware of just kind of random bad games, mainly for the Wii,
Oh,
from what I've seen.
we
Um,
and
yeah, yeah, and like, but if you're somebody who, and this is kind of like that, the way I collect is like there are specific games that I want to get because I want to play them because I have a certain affinity towards them. So if you're kind of like targeting specific games, you're gonna waste your time at Goodwill because, like for example, just to throw out, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, the odds of you walking into a Goodwill and seeing a Paper Mario Thousand Year Door complete for $2, it's just not likely. It's just not something that's gonna happen. So that was for me the biggest like error, aside from like the occasional game that I bought that I think I overpaid for, stuff
yeah,
like that, which happens. Yeah, yeah, it happens. But really for me, like it was the Goodwill because that was the thing I kind of spent the most time on. I would get out of work and I would immediately go to Goodwill's. Oh, let's see what I could find. Or like a weekend, oh, let me see what I could find. And I'd waste 3, 4, 5 hours and I don't find anything when I could
yeah.
have just like, gone somewhere else and actually bought the game, directly from the source. So that was kind of, like one of my bigger errors or things that I'm like, my God, so all right, let's go on to question three here. What's your favorite console to collect for?
All right. So my favorite console to collect for. I don't have a big uh set of them now because I sold most of them, but I'd say, it's funny because it's not my favorite console to play or anything, but the PlayStation 1 is my favorite console to collect for. Something about the black labels and the way they look, they're just, I don't know, it's aesthetically pleasing.
I
And
mean, the
they have
PS1 has those RPGs.
they have so many good RPGs.
Yeah.
I said, like, I don't have, like, I sold off most of my PS1 collection, but I do have all my killers still.
You have the heavy hitters, as they say.
The RPGs, I got the Tron Bond,
Ooh,
Klonoa.
and trombone's really pricey. I had no idea it was that. Like I was the other day, I
It's
was just on price chart, and I'm like, I'm gonna put trombone. I was like, man, it's up there.
ridiculous. That and Klonoa are ridiculous.
Klonoa, yes, Klonoa's pricey.
So yeah, the PlayStation One, that's probably my favorite to collect for, just because the games are always so interesting. And like I told you before, my buddy that had most of the PS1 collection, he always tells me and tips me off onto some cool new game to try out for it.
So I grew up with the GameCube, so there's a bias there. Like I love my GameCube library. Um, I think it's a great console. It has a lot of great, awesome games. You had a lot of awesome stuff there, and I think I have it up there. But recently, I really, really enjoyed collecting for the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast has kind of become almost my favorite console to collect for a couple reasons. Like, I just feel like nowadays, since we're all grown-ups here, we have less time to play games, obviously. Like I don't have time to sit down and play, an RPG. It's gonna take me a while. I could do it,
You
but
know,
it's gonna just take me a while. You know, and but which I can do it, just chip away at it. But like what I do love about the Dreamcast library is the amount of just kind of pick up and play arcade type games that console specifically had. Like Street Fighter being one of them, Wave Racer being another one, which is a lot of fun, Sega Rally, which is great. Just like I have a ton of games plus the imports. I have a lot of Dreamcast imports like Capcom versus SNK, Power Stone. I love Power Stone. Like these are just like whenever like I'm home, right, and I'm like, man, I just kind of want to play just something that's just fun and not waste, not start up at not start up an RPG and waste half an hour on
I
dialogue.
that.
Yeah, so like I could just sit down, play something, play some Power Stone, play some Street Fighter Alpha, which I have that. Like I love Street Fighter Alpha, a three. Um, yeah, like for me, the Dreamcast has become kind of like my favorite library. It has a lot of cool shoot 'em ups as well. Gunbird, I have that one, which is it's a really good one. and the imports are a lot cheaper. And because they're arcadey, you don't need to, you don't need to read, and a lot of them is in English.
That's
So
true.
yeah, so I really have loved the Dreamcast. Plus I love the peripherals it has. It has like the light gun, which is fun. That has like which I have the light gun and I have the arcade stick. I have those two, and I want to get the fishing rod eventually for the Sega Bass Fishing.
I want to get the mic and the mic and what's it called? The the fish man. What is that game
Oh
called?
yeah, Seaman. I think that's what.
B-Man
Yeah, Seaman.
that comes with it.
Yeah, I have to look more into that game. That game looks very weird. I like and no grant just a disclosure for those people that obviously don't know is that well like I did not know about the Dreamcast until dude late in my like I didn't find out about the Dreamcast until I was like maybe in high school, bro. Like because like I didn't know anybody that owned a Dreamcast. I had like never. I saw one once when I was in high school. I went to my parents went to somebody's house and I was with them, and he had a Dreamcast in his room with Sonic, and that was the first time I ever saw a Dreamcast and like actually held it in my hand. I'm just kind of well, this is weird, and, but
I know.
yeah, but like having it now, it's to me, I think it's the most fun. That and I think the GameCube as well, but the Dreamcast has that more pick up and play library that I like a lot. All right, let's go on to the next question here. All right, what are your thoughts on the current state of collecting games now?
Oh boy, do I have thoughts.
Dude, say it, bro. What is it? This is a free space.
I have thoughts, and you're all gonna hear about it. Grumpy man voice.
Yeah, right.
So, currently, I'm not particularly happy with how the collecting hobby has become, what it's become. I think it's more and more it's becoming more like a wealthy man's game. You know, it's these games are rising in price, and it's really like unnecessary if like if you think about it, because I get it, more and more collectors are starting to hold on to these things, so they are becoming a little more scarce to find. But and it feels more like we have more resellers than actual collectors now.
I agree.
Even though I'm sure it's totally not that. I'm sure there's way more collectors than that dwarfs the amount of resellers. But unfortunately, resellers are the ones you mostly see online trying to get rid of their games for cash. And the problem is it only takes a couple people to sell a game for a dumb, stupid amount of money, and then everybody else thinks that's what I'm gonna sell mine for.
Yeah.
And that's how we get where we are. And unfortunately, like when COVID happened, a lot of collecting hobbies like Pokemon TCG, I'm sure other TCGs as well, and comic books, everything shot up in price because nobody had anything to do. So, and everybody was trying to make money. So all these people, all these resellers got into this hobby and they haven't left.
Nope. I've not left. Yep, I agree.
So it's kind of like a little disheartening to me, and it kind of drove me out of like really collecting as much. I know I always do, like, whenever way back when does their sales, I'm always selling games and stuff there, but like I don't really like buy games to resell. Those are mostly I'd say probably 90% of those games that you've seen me sell there are just games that I've bought over the years. And like I said, I ended up selling half my collection just to help fund my house and everything. But yeah, I still love collecting. I still love looking around and going to game stores and finding what they might have, something you don't normally see. and looking online for any kind of deals, but it's unfortunately like it's nowhere near like where it was a few years ago. You know, everybody they have gold, and everybody kind of thinks, well, I'm gonna sell this for this much, and that's that.
Yeah.
So you can make deals out there, but I don't know. You got to know how to schmooze your way into it.
Yeah, yeah, dude, I agree. I think it's not in the best state because I do remember the COVID spike, and I do remember that, like, I mean, shoot, like there were a lot of people saying that, oh, it's a bubble, it's gonna pop, it's gonna come crashing down. It never did, and it's not going to. I don't think it is, just because gaming is such a like it's just one of those hobbies that like just about anybody could get into, I feel. Demand is always going to be high, you know, and yeah, it's always just going to be high. Like, so it's like, oh, if I'm, you know, like I'm 31 now, right? Let's say in like it doesn't matter, in 5 years somebody's going to be 15 and they're going to want to collect and they're going to want to play games. So it's one of those things where I feel like where other hobbies, um it kind of goes with that generation, because gaming is such a thing that appeals to, it's just going to keep getting refreshed, and because of that, it's just, the demand is going to keep getting higher. I do see a future maybe where maybe certain stuff, like I think like the sealed market could crash, um just because of I was watching, this guy that I follow on YouTube, I forget his name, but he it's called the reserved investments, and he talks a lot about kind of the quantity of something having an effect on the value of the overall thing. So it's like if you have like let's say you have 100 like just an example here, let's just say you have 100 Ocarina of Times, right? And out of the 100, two of them are sealed, right? It's like it's very valuable, you know, because wow, only like these are very few that are sealed. But let's say, you know, out of 100 you have like 85 that are sealed compared to, you know, unsealed. Then suddenly it's like, whoa, there's a saturation where too many people are just having, you know, sealed. So I could see maybe that crashing, but like in terms of just regular games, like I don't think so, man. Like I've already, when I first when I tried collecting, when I was collecting Game Boy Advance, um I really wanted to collect complete unbox. I really did. But
Oh,
I'm priced out. I can't. Like there are just some games now that I'm like, dude, I can't. Like if I were to save my money and try to, like, it would just take, like I can't. Like I'd rather get other stuff for my collection, like for the collection. You know, I'd rather get 5 6 games for the price that I would pay for one, for 3 4 months saving, you know, because I have responsibilities. You know, I can't just like shell out $200, like, you know, like it's nothing, you know. So it's like, yeah, I've been priced out. It's unfortunate. It's not good. Yeah. And as far as like that, like where do you, like where do you see it going in the future? Do you see it? You think it'll crash? You think it'll keep going high? Like, what do you think?
so I think I agree mainly with what you're saying. I don't think the sealed and the graded
Oh,
games
no,
will
you upgraded, bro.
don't think that's going to be a thing because there's a completely different mindset when you're grading like Pokemon cards or comic books as opposed to grading video games. I feel like, I mean, Pokemon cards are getting into this kind of area too, where it's like everybody's just grading stuff just to
Just to
make
grade.
it more valuable. And I feel like there's so much of it going on now that like it's kind of like they're all graded now. Who cares? But I mean, like the gaming specifically, I don't think there's enough people that really want graded games.
I agree.
Like there's people sending them in and doing it, but there's definitely not a demand for people that actually want to keep them like that. Um, And as for this mystical bubble everybody likes to talk about, um, I don't really see that happening either. I don't really see it like in general popping and like you're gonna suddenly want Tron for $50. I don't think that will ever. I don't think that'll
That's
ever
not
happen.
gonna happen. No, no, no.
The
That's
what my thought process, and I could be wrong on thinking this way, but I like you were kind of saying how it kind of goes with generations. I feel like we do have people always coming in and wanting to start collecting games and such, but the younger these people are, um, they're not gonna give a shit about NES games eventually.
I mean,
you
shoot,
know,
even I would say even now, a lot of people don't like
even
it's starting to turn, I think, like right now.
you're starting to see like Wii games go up in price and stuff like that because those are the generations of kids that are growing up now that are starting to get money and they're like, oh man, I used to love Wii Sports. I think I'm gonna go for those. And it's I can't see someone like my daughter's age growing up and wanting and like caring anything about like Play Fighter Sculptor's Cut. There something like Mario for NES, Mario 3 for NES, stuff like that will always like be valuable because everybody knows Mario, everybody knows Sonic, everybody knows like Zelda, those main games. I don't think you would have to worry about those so much, but it would definitely be like those off-brand ones like nobody knows
Yeah.
anything about that. Maybe they might go down in price, they might just stay where they are, but I don't think you're gonna see, uh, just to use it as the same example, Trombone as $50. I don't think you'll see it for $1,000.
Yeah.
I think where we're at is kind of like it may fluctuate a little bit, like go up and down, but I don't think it'll. I don't. I don't know. I'm not a believer in this giant bubble so much.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I like if you're somebody that it's you're watching this and you're getting into collecting now, let's say you're newer to this whole thing, it is one of those things where I think you have to make your peace, have a plan, and just find a way and just and I would say
Go
take the
with
L,
games
like
that you actually want, mostly. If it's a pricey game, save up for it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's true. If there's a game you really want, yeah, I agree with you there. If there's a game you really want, man, say I've done it. Like there are some games that I saved up for and they weren't cheap, but like sitting waiting for a bubble to pop, it's kind of like going to a Goodwill and expecting. It's like to me, it's the same equivalent, and you might burn yourself. I'll give you a good example. Um, like 3 years ago, maybe I was trying to get a Donkey Kong Country Jungle Green Nintendo 64 complete, with the game, the box, and it was around 450 around there for it. And I remember, dude, I was this close, man. I was this close to pulling the trigger. I decided not to. I'm like, let me just wait it out, whatever. Now I see it on eBay for like double. It's like $800-900 now, and it's at a point now where I'm like, I'm not gonna get it. Like I already have an N64, but I would have wanted that one. It's kind of an example there, like if you wait too much, games might get too expensive. Um, and if you like, and I understand people that because there are people that have been collecting since like 2000,
Yeah,
and it's like I get their pain because they saw a world where games were ridiculously cheap, and for them it's hard to fathom, you know, like the newer stuff. But yeah, if you're somebody that if you are newer, um it's easier to wrap your head around because this is all you know. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of the world, because even when I started collecting in 2017, prices were already expensive. I remember I saw a copy of Path of Radiance then, and it was like 150. You know what I mean? And it's like even like 100. It's expensive. Obviously now it's like I think it's like around 250, 300. But it's like even then, where compared to people that maybe saw it when it first came out, it was like 40, $50. So it's like if you're somebody that's starting now, newer, kind of, I would put myself in that category. the seeing games the prices that they are, this is the way that it is. So it is just kind of a matter of make a plan, like you said, Tony. You know, focus on the games that you want. You know, stuff like that. That will probably give you a better chance at you know, having a more successful collection, and save up for the games that you really want. Like, you know, if like in my opinion, like if you really are passionate about collecting, like there's no shame in owning an expensive game compared to a cheap game, because
Not I
it's a
have
hobby, it's your passion. Yeah, yeah,
I
dude. Like, you know, I have like I want one day I want to own Chrono Trigger, you know, one day.
do.
Yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, I'll do it and it's fine, but you know, save up for it, whatever. And maybe you're watching, you have a game that you want, you have your eye on. Same concept, man. So I guess really just to, I guess to close this out, I mean, and have any final words here, Tony?
Um, Game on, everybody. Get it. Honestly, when it comes to collecting, I feel quality is better than quantity. A lot of people might say quantity is better than quality sometimes. You know, you just want to have a huge room of games, and that's also cool too. Um, don't let anybody tell you how you should collect. You know, stay within your means and do what you enjoy.
Yeah. Well said, Tony. That's awesome. And I agree, man. Collect what you want to collect. Doesn't matter how much or how little. Just that you're enjoying your collection, man. I believe that I see the gaming medium as I see a book or a movie. You know, these are things that you can look at but also interact with. And games are very, you know, they're built for you to be able to interact with. So if you know, the important thing is that you have a nice collection and you're enjoying your games, and you're, I guess, you know, you're creating memories along the way, man. And I think that's the most important part. Um, I like some of the points you said. You know, like don't collect to try to chase others. You know, I think that's a mistake. I think a lot of people make. Um, you know, and just analyze like the market, make sure that, you know, make a plan, and you should be fine. You're gonna enjoy this hobby. And I
You
think it's a lot of,
as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of like there's a lot of cool people out there that are willing to help as well. So yeah. I think, yeah, let's wrap this up now, guys. Thank you all for watching. Tony, thank you, man, for doing this video. It was great, and you know, we'll try to do some other topics maybe for some more future episodes
I'm always
with this format. Yeah, man, it's great to have your support. Appreciate it. And we could talk maybe we could talk some emulation or something. You know, so as far as this goes, guys, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.